Section 1.3, Subtracting Whole Numbers. Let's look at subtracting whole numbers. Addition had the basic rule that only like things could be added. Well, subtraction has the same basic rule. So when we look at addition or subtraction now, the rule states that only like things can be subtracted. And that makes sense. Those are inverse operations, so the fact that the rule applies to both makes sense. Alright, let's look at an example. Let's do 34 minus 23. Well, just like before, we align these by place value. We look at the ones, and we can take 3 ones from 4 ones because they're like. We can take 2 tens from 3 tens and get 1 10, which is how we get 11. Now, what if we look at one that's a little bit larger? What if we had 53 minus 28? Well, once again, we'd align this by place value. And then now in this case here, we cannot take 8 from 3. It's impossible. Notice we have 3. Well, I can't take 8 from. So I ask students, I say, well, how do you do this? And they say, well, scratch the 5, put a 4, and then write a 1 there. And they said, well, we borrowed 1 from the 5, and now we can do this. And I say, well, okay, let's start with this. The word borrowing is not the right word to use. Just like we talked about before, we really should be using the word regrouping. Essentially what you're doing here is this 1 represents 10 ones. That's one 10 unit that you brought here and turned into 10 ones. So notice when you regroup from the 50 and you drop down to 40, what you've done is you've taken a block of 10 and you've broken it down into 10 ones. And that's what we have here. So that's what this 1 represents. This unit of 10 that you broke out into 10 ones. So now when you take those 10 ones and you put them with the 3 that you already had, now you have 13 ones. That's where we get here. And now look, I can take 8 from here. I can take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I'm left with 5. So that's how our 13 minus 8 gives us the 5. And then for the 10s, we just take 2 10s from 4 10s. And that leaves us with 2 10s. And that's how we get our 25.